Thanks for the support as a channel member, James Townsend. Well, that was a transfer window and a half, especially because I'm looking at it fresh after 4 days of not playing the save. Did I actually spend £2.5 million on a striker who I'm not going to start today? Past Kev's either a genius or my worst nightmare. Hello and welcome to part 93 of Bourne Again. I'm Kevin. Coming up on today's episode, we have our first 2 games of the new Championship season at home against Bristol City and away against Forrest. If you did miss the transfer window, this isn't just for my benefit, because I can't remember what we did in the window. This is for your benefit, in case you missed it. We sold Daryl Danks for big money. Sold lots of... I wouldn't even call some of these fringe players who've been around for a long time, but probably weren't quite good enough for the step up to the Premier League. We've done the big upgrade that either leads to promotion because we've signed some real top quality players, or financial ruin because we've committed to a large wage budget. I mean, yes, we've got a decent bank balance at the moment, but it won't stick around for long with the wages we've got if we don't make it into the Premier League. So it's becoming, the higher that wage budget goes, the more players we're going to have to sell every summer to stop this from happening. We're not going to get away next year with just selling one player for 8 million quid, for example. So we kind of need to go up this year, or we've got a problem. Gambling on promotion can't ever go wrong, surely. And this is the team for the first day of the new season against Bristol City. A mixture of new faces and players who've been here forever. Alan Hardy in goal. Of course, a lot of pressure for Alan Hardy to be the first player of the series to earn himself a knighthood. I think if he's actively involved in getting us promoted and keeps his place as goalkeeper for our first season in the Premier League, he's got a good chance. But what I don't want to do is have Sir Alan Hardy on the bench next season, because that would just seem silly for a 25-year-old with a knighthood to not be in the team. At the back, we've got new boy Kong. Did we decide how to say his name? He came in from Cotton Sport in Cameroon. Kongni. I think we'll call him Kongni. And if that's wrong, so be it. Kalic, back on loan for another season. Kalic, interestingly, it doesn't show on there. When I was looking at signing him in the window, I do remember his price to buy was £38 million. So we've got a decent centre-back there in Kalic. He's going to be partnered by Mauricio Cruz, our Uruguayan international, who came in on a free transfer in the summer to be his partner. And, of course, Lastra still knocking around on the right-hand side of the defence. Central midfield, we've got Arnautovic, who's on loan for another year from Leicester. We'll get him back permanently eventually. I can smell it. He's going to be partnered by Rodrigo Aparecido, who came in from Arsenal on a free transfer in the summer. And then as our attacking midfield 3, a little bit more familiarity here. And we've got Bruce on the left-hand side. Robinson, who's back on loan for another year in the attacking midfield position. And then new boy David Leonardo, Brazilian under-20 international, who came in from Tottenham on a free transfer, having had a season on loan at Stuttgart in the Bundesliga last year. And then up front, we've got Evan Lahif, who's a 22-year-old Australian international who's scored 3 goals in 2 internationals so far and has been scoring regularly for the Central Coast Mariners in Australia for the last few years. If things don't go well for him, I mentioned him in the intro, Daniel Santos, we've given the number 9 shirt to, as worn by Goran Pavlov, and paid £2.4 million for this guy. He was on loan at Blackburn last year. They paid almost as much to loan him as we've spent to actually bring him in. So a lot of pressure on him, but he's not starting today. We're going with Lahif instead. So let's get into the game. Let's see if we're as good as I hope we are. As ever, with the amount of signings that we've made, there's going to be an element of waiting for dynamics to catch up with ability. So I'm not going to panic if we don't win 5-0 today. However, despite what the board would have you believe, this is very much a team that I've put together to get promoted, like we saw before with the finances and everything. If we don't go up this year, we have a big problem. The board might not see the problem yet, but I've played Football Manager enough times to know the problem is coming. You all see the problem is coming. A club of our size that averages about an attendance of about 3,500 people should not be committing to nearly £2 million a month in wages. We have. And we're not going to be bringing in £12 million a year in prize money and advertising money to pay for that. So we need that Premier League money. And David Leonardo has scored on his debut to try and help us get a little bit closer to that Premier League money. Of course, the other thing with going up to the Premier League will mean a new ground, which a few people have said we need to be saving up money for. We don't. We'll get a loan for that. I've never known, in all my years playing Football Manager, I've had many new grounds, and I've never known a club not to take a loan to get a new ground, unless there's hundreds upon hundreds of millions of pounds in the bank, which, believe it or not, I've never been in that situation. Lahif scored on his debut as well. It's 2-0 on 17 minutes, and things are looking good with this new look team, this new look attack. Could Lahif be the goal scorer we've been looking for so many years? I mean, let's not get too carried away. Remember, 3 years ago, Goran Pavlov scored on his debut, and we all got very excited, thinking we had an absolute superstar who was going to lead us to the Premier League. He then spent the next 3 years not scoring very often, while you lot picked on him every day in the comments. Leonardo's in again, hits the post. He looks very dangerous, as you would expect. Tottenham paid £4 million for him not so many years ago. He's still young anyway, but Tottenham saw enough in him to throw £4 million at him. This is a player who you would expect to make it back to the Premier League, whether it's with us or by leaving us next summer for big money. There's certainly already players in this team who you can pinpoint and say, yeah, if we don't go up, these are the players who are going to be leaving for big money. And Leonardo definitely is one of them. The guy in midfield, Aparecido, definitely another of those that you would expect. You'd expect to be back in the Premier League next year, whether it's with us or with somebody else. Into the second half, Bristol City with a free kick. They've chosen to take it short, which seems an absolute madness. Robinson wins the ball back, plays it dangerously across to Kalic, who couldn't deal with it, and it's 1-0. And that was really, really poor from Robinson. He's a striker / attacking midfielder. Probably shouldn't be the man with the ball just there anyway, but the easy option is to play it forward. Lahif's there, just play it forward for him to chase. We're not trying to keep possession on the edge of our area. We're trying to get the ball into the other half. In that situation, play the ball forward, for goodness sake. I'm going to put that down to just youth and naivety. He's 19 years old. He's still played less than 30 professional games, but that sort of nonsense needs to be nipped out of his game, and quick. Right, Bruce is not having a very nice time. Goddard is a 16-year-old who's come through our youth team. How has he not got a name in the game yet? His potential must have done a Mick Powell when we changed the staff in the summer. If you're a Name in the Game channel member and you'd like to take Tom Goddard, let me know, because I don't bother posting them up onto the community page if there's nobody above 3 stars, but he is. So if you want him, let me know down in the comments to this video and I'll keep an eye out for you. Of course, that means I'm not bringing him on because he's a kid, but we don't really have anyone else who can go out onto that left wing, which is troublesome. How left back could play right wing. This frustrates me so much about Football Manager. If he can play there, he can play there. But if we put him there, he just won't perform because Football Manager. Right, Bruce is just going to have to stay on, even though he's having a really poor game. Hopefully he'll wake up at some point. And Nautovic can come off, though. I don't want to bring Alan Reid on in midfield. He's a centre-back who can play in midfield. Aragonesis is a defensive midfielder, so we might bring him on. Or we've got Hale, he's just been brought in for numbers as our backup midfielder. So I think we are going to bring Aragonesis on. And yeah, he can just stay as a central midfielder on defend alongside Aparecido. And we've got some exotic names in this team now. In fact, we'll bring Hale on as well. What does he want to be? He wants to be that. So in fact, he can be that. And then he can be that. And we'll just sit them back a little bit. Push him forward a little bit. And I've learnt too much from playing in the Streamer Showdown. I fiddle too much these days. I've become a button clicker. What am I going to do with myself? Right, let's... I don't know why we need to push forward further. I forget we're winning the game. I'm not yet a fully fledged button clicker. All I've got at the moment is I like to click the buttons, but I'm not actually doing it with any logic behind it yet. So, worst of both worlds. What did we say? Kongnii, I think we said, we were going to call him. Leonardo's got his second of the game, though, so it doesn't really matter what we're calling the guy who's giving him the ball. David Leonardo, he's looking like he's a bit of a signing, and as of right now, we're top of the league. I know it's the first day of the season, but I plan to stay here. I plan to go top of the league now and never give it up because I want to go up as champions. I just want to go up. I don't care how we go up. But I think a few people said with the FA Cup run last year, if the team that was playing in the FA Cup last year had all been eligible to play in the league, we'd have gone up last year. And I think that is right. We're close. We're touching distance from being a team that's going to get promoted. Let's get Santos on to make his debut. So Santos, he's a complete forward. Oh, what a special boy he looks like he might be. That's why we spent £2.4 million on him, because he's a complete forward. We might need a tactical change to play two of them. Perhaps the 4-2-4 finally makes a comeback. That would be absolute madness, but would it? Robinson misses out on the ball again. A couple of mistakes we've seen from Robinson today, and now the midfield not really dealing with it. Bear in mind the midfield has been put on quite a defensive instruction there. They've not dealt with the ball coming through the midfield at all. Bristol City have a goal back. We're looking a little bit iffy at the back. I'm hoping this is just teething problems as we bed in some new defenders and the midfield. I work out what our midfield is going to look like. But for now, little bit suspect defending for both of the goals that we've conceded there. But thankfully, and this is the first time I've been able to say this for a few seasons, thankfully we had enough about us going forward that it didn't matter. Leonardo in particular, he definitely made an immediate impact. That you can't. I mean, he's just doubled his career goal tally. I mean, he got 2 goals in the Bundesliga last year. He's going to score goals for us. Just one more signing in before the deadline closed between the two games. It's another defender. This is all director of football man. This wasn't me. He's decided we needed another centre back. I'm not going to argue. We had a loan spot open, so Dmitrio Oparenko has come in from Everton. He's similar quality to Kjalic, Reed, Cruz, better than Beadle, who we brought in to be our 4th choice sort of backup guy. So I'm not going to argue. Fits nicely into the squad. Probably not going to use him very much, but he might end up becoming a superstar. The rest of the squad hasn't changed. The team hasn't changed. For this game, the only thing is Ricky Scott is now fit enough to take his place on the bench. So Scott comes up onto the bench and he'll give us some options in those wide areas, as well as being able to play up front if we, or as and when we make those substitutions, if Bruce and or Leonardo need to come off for whatever reason. That is another poor goal to concede. Well, this defence, it's not quite there yet. We won't panic just yet, but we do have a natural defensive midfielder at the club now. So if we continue to concede sloppy goals, and arguably the weak point of the 11 is our attacking midfielder, then we may see a switch to a 4-3-3 in our future. We'll have to see, I guess. But, I've not been happy with some of these sloppy goals we've conceded. Right, Leonardo picks the ball up again and just runs. He's very good at football. Cross comes in, and there's Bruce, and there's the equaliser. And we've got a new hero, boys and girls. His name's David Leonardo, and if we can keep hold of him, we're going to be absolutely fine. Look at the state of that. He has 2 men on him when he picks the ball up and just skips past them both, beats a third, charges into the penalty area, perfect cross onto the head of Bruce. And we know from the last 2 years of Jake Bruce playing on that left-hand side, he will eat that kind of thing up all day long coming in off that left wing. He's scored probably into the 20s of goals over the last 2 seasons from pretty much that exact position, that exact goal. So to have a player who's capable of delivering him that kind of service down there is going to be no bad thing at all. Right, Forrest, have a throw down here, right almost on the corner flag. Cross comes in and Hardy's beaten, but it's not crossed the line, thankfully, and Kjalic managed to get it away. So little bit of an escape there, I think. That felt like it was going to be another goal, but we've got away with it. We go in at half-time. It's 1-1. Remember, Forrest are a team who will be very happy to come to Forrest and get a draw. So if it ends up finishing 1-1, I'm not going to be too upset at all. But What I don't want to do is be losing to it. I don't want to lose games this season. And we've given away a penalty. More self-inflicted goals. Have we conceded a goal yet this season that's not been our own fault? This is becoming frustrating already. And Alan Hardy, just reminding me, just in case anyone thought there was any doubt in my mind about Alan Hardy, I know he's not the root of the problem. I know the problem is the players in front of him. We just don't seem to have them in the right combination yet, or they're not used to playing together. Remember, Cruz doesn't even speak English yet. So that is going to be a potential problem. What language does Cruz speak? Cruz speaks Spanish and Portuguese. What does Lastra speak? Lastra must speak Spanish and English. So Lastra and Cruz can communicate. Kalic speaks Serbian, English, Croatian, Bosnian, Slovenian, Macedonian. So there's no way for Cruz and Kalic to communicate. And Cogni speaks French. So this is the problem we've got with our defence at the moment. They can't communicate with each other. The two who sat in front of them both speak English. But it's going to take a little bit of time for those players to settle in. Similar to when we sign out wonder kid Brazilian strikers. They don't start scoring loads of goals until they speak English. This back four is going to potentially be a problem until they're able to talk to each other. Oh, dear. Well, we'll be fine. That's why we signed the lad from Everton. And we've got Reed, obviously. And we might have to focus in a little bit more on the English speakers for the time being. I mean, Kalic Kalic does speak English. Those two both speak Spanish. But those two can't talk to each other. But he can talk to him. There's not really any way to get those three arranged unless we were to play Lastra at left back, because then Lastra can talk to... No, Lastra could talk to Cruz. No, it still doesn't work. I'll figure it out, but not on camera, because I'm going to have a meltdown over it, I think. Right, let's sort the midfield out again. Who are you, Marcus Francis? Are you another youngster who's come through? He's an example of the reason why I don't always post the youth intakes, because no one wants a 2.5-star player. Although that facial hair and baldness combo is sensational. So maybe you do want him. Right. We are going to... We're going to have to start picking better benches. We're going to do this, which is a huge decision. But if he can do that, it's not massively different. Maybe. He can do that. So again, we're telling these two to sit back a little bit and letting the front four go do front four things. I mean, a lot of our early promotions were with a 4-2-4. It's not a disastrous system to use. We know it can work if you've got the right players. And for the first time in a long time, we've got quite the selection of strikers to choose from. Right, and Nautovic is going to come off as well. Reed. We're playing a lot of players in midfield who aren't necessarily midfielders, which feels like it's not going to be a good plan. But put him there. And then he can be... This isn't looking like a promotion-winning team already. The bench is a problem. Right, let's have 10 minutes of passion to finish off. We've got a lot of protection in front of our defenders. Our wing-backs can definitely push on in these circumstances. We could almost play a back three with the defensive midfielder in front. No midfield at all. Don't start trying to create tactics, Kev. It's not what you do. You don't know how to do it. You don't know what you're doing, and it causes these kind of problems. Luckily, we've got Alan Hardy in goal, so he's going to paper over some of the cracks that we have this season. Right. Long throw time. We learnt this in the Streamer Showdown at the weekend. Let's see if it works. I mean, well, it might work when you have good players, but with the quality of players we've got, maybe not. We probably don't have anyone who can deliver a particularly good long throw, which is going to be an issue in and of itself. But like I said, a 1-1 draw away against Forrest, I'm never going to complain about until we're like in the Champions League, and then I probably will complain about it. But you know, in the context of where we are now, I'm not going to complain about this. It's an unbeaten start to the season, assuming we're not about to throw it away from here, because then I'll be very upset. But an unbeaten start to the season with a defence who can't talk to each other and the rest of the team still getting to know each other. Don't tease me like that, Football Manager. We're okay. We're going to be okay. We're going to have a good season. I can sense it. If you enjoyed that, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for daily Football Manager videos. And thank you very much for watching.